Hello and welcome back. In this video, we're going to start talking about C.S. Lewis's trilemma. The Lewis trilemma. And I was just talking with Zach as we were preparing for this lesson, and I'm just a little bit jealous because as someone who likes to be a thinker, C.S. Lewis invented a trilemma. That's kind of the coolest thing ever. I'm a little bit jealous, but we're going to go through it. And C.S. Lewis proposed three sort of ways in which Jesus would have had to be, one or the other. You can't have one, and there's three. He's either a liar, he's either a lunatic, or he's Lord the way that he said he was. Now, beyond this, other people have proposed two other necessary options. And necessary is a philosophical word, means that it is absolutely required that it has to be an option. Okay, so if I say 2 plus 2 is necessarily 4, it means 2 plus 2 does not just equal 4, it is 100% necessary that it is 4. There's no other way it could be. And so that is another way we could say that. So you see this in philosophy in a lot of things. If you go back to the cosmological argument for the atheism section, you will see something to the effect of, if something comes into existence, it must have been created. The word there that you can use is anything that comes into existence is necessarily created. It must have been created, and there is no other way. And what the atheist might say is like, well, yeah, it just appeared. And what they're trying to say is something can come from no thing. And that is impossible. No thing is nothing. Nothing cannot do or create anything because it is a lack of existence. So it is necessary, okay? So it is necessary that Jesus is either a liar, a lunatic, God, a good man, or a prophet. And so in this video, we're going to get into a liar. Now, the reason why we're breaking this framework apart is because later we're going to talk about how to apply these to theistic religions. You can also apply these to other circumstances, maybe particularly New Age related conversations, which we will get to. But anyway, so in this video, we're going to talk about liar. And when we see Jesus going through the New Testament, he says things like, for example, I am the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven. Right? So you'll have all these verses where he calls himself the Son of Man. And then you see the Sadducees and the Pharisees, flip their biscuits because they're like, oh, they're clutching their pearls. He said he's the Son of Man. What does that mean? It doesn't mean he's the son of a man. He's referencing Daniel 7:13 that says, and then I saw one like a son of man coming on the clouds of heaven, and to him was given all authority and glory and power, and all the nations worshiped him, or something like that. Okay, so he's claiming to be this man that is sitting at the right hand of God the Father, coming on the clouds of heaven. Well, that is a crazy thing to say, that you're that, because the Jews, and Jesus was a Jew, believes there is one God, God the Father, and nobody else. And to claim you have power and authority and whatever, and people worship you, all of those things I just said. Now I can only quote it in order. I can't go backwards apparently, but all of the things that he claims to have, like the Son of Man in Daniel 7:13, which is from the Jewish Bible, the Old Testament. He's claiming to have those. He's claiming to be God, except very weirdly, because it's this man who sits next to God, but shares all of the glory and honor and praise and worship. So he's God, but he's not God, but he's claiming deity. He's claiming godhood. Okay, so what do we do with this? Well, Jesus is walking around claiming to be God. The Jews are, flipping their biscuits. And what are they doing? They're saying he's a liar. Okay, and this is one way we can interpret Christ's claims to divinity. And if anybody ever says Christ didn't claim to be divine, that is false. When he says, I am the Son of Man, he is claiming divinity from Daniel 7:13. He is directly referencing the passage. Okay, so moving on. He's a liar. Okay, and what do I mean by a liar? I mean, he's a con artist. He likes people following him around. He likes the acclaim. He somehow is magically tricking people into believing he can really do miracles, Maybe people are in on it with him, but he is just a devious, lying con artist. And everybody who has followed Christ from that point forward is a fool. You and me, and I believe it actually says this. Who says this? Zach, maybe you can help me with the quote. I don't know if you know it. Paul says something to the effect of, if Christ was not who he said he was, our faith is in vain more than everybody else, because we're just fools for believing it. Okay, so this is the liar. So Christ as the liar. Now, if someone is going to make a claim, they now have the burden of proof. If I were to come and tell you the flying spaghetti monster is real, it is true, and you should serve him. And for anybody interested, that is a legal religion in Europe, which is funny, because they just made that up to have a state religion of the flying. It's just simply for the sake of putting it on the census, I believe. So it's kind of a funny joke. God they made up. I don't think anybody's actually a real flying spaghetti monster believer. However, if I claimed I really do believe in the flying spaghetti monster, I now have the burden of proof. If I just come up with something and say it's true, I have to give a reason. I now have the burden of proof to tell you why the flying spaghetti monster is real. So if someone is to come to you and say Jesus was just a liar, and I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that to me, but let's say he was, great. Why do you believe that? Now we're moving into Columbo tactics, by the way. Who said he's a liar? Where do you see this? And they have to give some kind of evidence, welcome, Juke, that Jesus is a liar. And I have not seen any evidence of that. I don't think that anybody has seen any evidence of that. We have lots of historic evidence for the reliability of the New Testament, but there has never even one time surfaced any kind of document that has indicated that Jesus lied or that the information in the New Testament is false. Juke, we're doing liar, lunatic, Lord as we get into theism and then into the theistic religions. I'm excited to hear you talk about Islam when we get there. There's no evidence of this. And not only this, the New Testament books, especially John, are evidential works. And correct me if I'm wrong, Juke, John is the book that references, or is it Luke, that references that Christ rose from the dead. He was seen by 500 eyewitnesses. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's not John.
It's Luke.
I don't think it's John, the 500 eyewitnesses. Good question.
Okay, well, either way, you can look it up. I won't pretend to know it all. So when it says there were 500 eyewitnesses, and then he went and saw this person and this person and this person, what does that mean? This was a piece of papyrus that was copied and sent around the ancient world. And this, this is a small population. People could very easily say and write their own papyrus to say that is a load of hogwash. That is baloney. I was there. He's saying I was in the 500. I was in that town. That never happened. And there has never been a single piece or shred of evidence to suggest that these events did not happen or that Jesus was not who he said he was. We also don't see that in the New Testament. We see a lot of crazy things happening in the New Testament. These super holy disciples who are supposed to run the church and lived with Jesus go through years of training with him. And then as soon as he gets into a bad spot, they're like, I don't even know that guy. I'm out of here. We've got lots of evidence to say that people in the New Testament have issues, and there is no evidence or anything in there to say that Jesus was lying. If anything, we see the opposite. These people died because they saw what happened to Jesus, and then they themselves committed even further, believing that he died and rose from the dead, and then died themselves. Jesus himself died a terrible death. If you're a liar and you're pulling a con on everyone and they get wise to your scheme and they say, we're going to torture you and nail you to a tree through your bones and let you hang there until you suffocate to death, you're probably going to go, you know what? It's not worth, the money that guy over there was paying me to pull this joke. It's not worth whatever I get out of it because I'm going to be dead. And so all of the evidence seems to indicate that Jesus was not a liar, that he's actually telling the truth. So if someone is going to approach you and say Jesus is a liar, they better have some really good evidence that up to this point, I don't think, as far as I'm aware, anyone has been able to show. Zach, Juke, do you guys have anything you want to throw into here on Jesus being a liar?
Just liars make bad martyrs. That's what they say, you know.
Fair enough.
Liars make bad martyrs.
Yeah, because liars aren't willing to be martyred. That's the joke for anybody who didn't catch that. Love that. All right, cool. In this video, we talked about, is Jesus a liar? The evidence says no, and the reason. In the next video, we're going to talk about, is Jesus a lunatic? We'll see you there.